It's a big day.
It is the big day. Happy Sunday, Canadian wine lovers. Carl's Wine Club members, Mira Boucher. Good, happy Sunday. This is the most exciting day of the year.
For us.
For us, exactly.
Because we're revisiting a whole year of tasting Canadian wine together with Carl's Wine Club members. Thank you guys so much for going on this amazing journey with us. And now we've reviewed it all, and Carl is ready to announce his top 10 wines of the year.
This was like Mira just mentioned, it was a year-long process. I clearly remember, it started in January with the Maverick offer, when Mira's eyes went big like that, and she had kind of a Carl's moment when the dance move and all that started. That's when it started. Our first offer of the year in January, and almost 50 wineries later, over 1,200 wines later. Well, you know what? We have 18 wines that we're going to talk about today. It's such a minuscule, like a small amount of wine, of name that we're going to mention.
Out of 1,800, who's good at math? What percentage of 1,200 you said is 18? Yes. Right? It's like 1%, 1 point something percent.
1.3, something like that. I don't know. You know how horrible I am at math.
Yeah.
But you know what? Well, if 1,210, it's 1.2, I guess, right? Yeah. So plus these is the 1.2%, plus we had our 5 honorable mention, plus our 3 top value wine of the year, because I truly believe that people who are listening to us, I truly believe that Carl's Wine Club members and all the Canadian wine enthusiasts get excited to hear about some outstanding value wines, as much as collector items, or as much as mid-level. I think we don't talk enough about value wines, and here we are. We're gonna reveal our top 3 value wines also. So yeah, big day. It's the the lead off to we've been working on that for a while now. There's been a lot of hours put into that, a lot of tasting notes, a lot of scores, a lot of samples, a lot of connections as well, a lot of great bond, a lot of great friendship build among all of these hours working with these wineries, winemakers, managers of wineries, and all of that. So, and I think that's what it's all about. And to introduce these wines to you, Carl's Wine Club members, and all the Canadian wine lovers, is such a privilege. And Mira and I were privileged, because there's probably out of the 1,200 that I tasted, Mira was beside me, I would say, for at least 1,000 of them, at least. So there's not a whole lot of wine that I didn't taste, that she didn't. So kudos to my co-taster here, my partner in crime, my amazing partner who take care of all of the back ends, and don't get enough credit for everything she do. Like, it's Carl's Wine Club, but I know that many people in our following, we joke about that. It should be Mira's Wine Club, and I kind of support the idea. But yeah, no, there's been a teamwork for all year long. It's been a teamwork, and there's no one else in the country that I want to taste as many wine than her. So, and I'll tell you one thing: she's getting good at it. She's getting pretty good at it.
Yeah, before I got COVID, I was getting pretty darn good at it. But now, after the COVID a few weeks ago, my taste is not fully back yet. It's awful. It's awful. But I think we have some of our top wines of the year open tonight, don't we?
We sure do. We sure do.
So let's see if the spreads are back, and if they're not, I'm just going to be so mad. But
well, actually, yeah. Mira, there's none there's not one of the actual on the list though.
Okay, so these
The
are like
third
new vintage
wine is
like
the
that?
special wine that we're going to talk at the very, very end. The one in the middle, that's the one that we cracked last night.
Okay.
And because I just thought it was pretty good, and I can't wait to see what it looks like the second day.
Okay.
And because for a marathon like that, I needed to start with a little bit of white. So we were short on time, so it's just the little cactus white that we cracked a couple days ago, and that's the first
nice.
one that. So yeah, that's the lineup. But we're gonna build up pretty quick after that to the 2013 Syrah that we tasted yesterday, and the big one at the end.
Nice. Okay, so that's our lineup. Tell us what you guys are sipping on tonight. If you've got some wine open, put a note in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what you're sipping tonight. We've got our lineup for the top 10, including a what I believe to be a barrel sample of the new release of Carl's number 1.
Exactly.
But I won't tell you what that
is. A barrel sample of my number 1 wine of the year, new version, right? That is pretty cool.
All right.
This is really cool. Mira, you have some work to do. I have to let you go.
I am gonna ask you something though, and I hope I can listen in. Tell us more about what went into your thinking for this top 10? Because if you took all your scores all year, there's going to be a whole bunch that could have been in this top 10. Like, not a whole bunch. I don't know, maybe like 30, right? And so tell us more about why you chose these 10. What was your thought process, right?
Yeah, I will. So the thought process, there's a little bit, there's a lot going on behind that. But first and foremost, it was all my top scored wine from the beginning. But rule number 1, I didn't want to have 2 of the same producers in the top 10. It would have become too boring and too easy to just put, I don't know, 2 wines from Black Hills, 2 wines from Rennie, 3 wines from Batchelder. You know, like there's producer out there that their whole lineup are small batch, and they're the top of the top of the top. And that's not what it's all about. We tasted over 1,200 wines. We tasted probably, I don't know, 200, maybe 200 different producers. So the thought process is I wanted to showcase the work of as many people as possible. So only one wine per producers. The representation East-West kind of happened. It happened on its own. It was not necessarily, I need that many wine from Ontario, that many wine from BC, or this and that. No, it just happened that way. Oh, by the way, Mira, I just remembered the number 3 for the the value wine. Jeez, I just had my flash. Sorry, I had forgot something. I had a big brain fart earlier today. We spent so many hours working on that, and we lost 1 flash.
I'll come upstairs in a second.
Okay. Yeah, I had a big brain fart, and we lost the file. Couldn't find my top 3 value wine file. And anyway, hey, before we go in all that, we really need to do a little bit of introduction in French as well, because we have a great group of francophones who are following us on a weekly basis. But tonight, I know they're tuning in like big numbers. So, un beau bonjour à tous nos amateurs de vin francophones, nos amateurs de vin canadiens francophones. On veut vous souhaiter un beau bonjour à toute la gang au Québec, la gang du Nouveau-Brunswick, tous les francophones des autres provinces, que ce soit du nord de l'Ontario, n'importe où dans la province de l'Atlantique, au Manitoba. So, tous nos francophones, on vous souhaite un beau dimanche. Désolé, je suis en train d'écrire la note à Mira pour être capable de... on va comprendre avec ça. Beau bonjour à tout le monde. Ce soir, c'est une journée assez spéciale. C'est notre troisième édition du top 10, mes 10 meilleurs vins de l'année, qui vont aussi être accompagnés de mes 5 mentions honorables et mes 3 vins de meilleure qualité-prix, valeur qualité-prix. Donc, on va parler de 18 vins en particulier qui ont fait le top de la liste, le 1,5% des vins qu'on a goûtés cette année. Parce que on a goûté au-dessus de 1220 Canadiens cette année. Si vous avez sûrement écouté le début, si vous l'avez compris en anglais, c'est parfait, mais un beau, je veux lever mon chapeau à ma partenaire. Des 1220 que j'ai goûté cette année, Mira était à mes côtés pour au-dessus de probablement de 1100, si c'est pas plus. Elle n'a pas assez de crédit de tout ce qui se passe autour, tout ce qui est tout ce que vous voyez à l'écran. C'est tout elle qui a gagné ça, c'est tout elle qui s'occupe de tout ça. Donc, un gros merci pour tout ce qu'elle peut faire avec nous autres parce que Carl's Wine Club, mais il y en a beaucoup qui disent que ça devrait être Mira's Wine Club. Puis ça, ben, ça commence à l'affirmer de plus en plus. Donc, c'est un beau travail d'équipe toute l'année. On a goûté probablement une cinquantaine de différents. On a présenté à nos membres, à vous, une cinquantaine de différentes options de différents producteurs. On en a goûté au total peut-être 150 pour un total de 1220. C'est beaucoup de vin, c'est beaucoup de vin à chaque semaine. Puis, on est excité ce soir de vous présenter la crème de la crème, le top 10, incluant nos 5 mentions honorables et les 3 mentions des meilleures valeurs qualité-prix. Merci de nous suivre. Sans vous autres, on ne serait pas là. On apprécie beaucoup. Ça, je veux dire un beau bonjour à toute notre gang de Québec. Pierre Nollet et sa gang, Manon, Jean-Denis, toute notre gang du Québec, les fans qui nous suivent, qui viennent nous visiter en Colombie-Britannique, qui prennent le temps de venir prendre du vin avec nous autres, de jaser de vin canadien avec nous autres. C'est un gros mouvement. On est un des seuls pays producteurs de vin qui importe plus de produits internationaux que qu'on boit de nos produits locaux. Ben, le Canadian Wine Challenge qu'on vient de lancer, c'est un petit peu en réponse à ça. On veut s'assurer que tout le monde embarque sur le train de déguster les vins canadiens en grand nombre, en espérant que les gens vont continuer à nous suivre en grand nombre parce que c'est notre passion. Et on espère de voir le nombre de participants, le nombre de membres, le nombre de gens intéressés qui nous suivent de croître à tous les mois, à toutes les semaines. Un gros merci à tout le monde. En français, laissez-nous savoir qu'est-ce que vous avez dans votre verre à soir. Le premier, nous autres, c'est un petit blanc bien tranquille du sud de l'Okanagan, c'est Desert Hills. C'est leur cactus blanc. C'est un blend de Gewürztraminer, de Viognier puis de Chardonnay. Ça, c'est ce qu'on commence. Après ça, on va continuer la progression toi, en s'en allant plus gros, de plus en plus gros jusqu'à notre numéro 1. OK! Un gros merci en français. À tout le monde, thank you guys. So it was a little bit of French, a little bit more than usual, but I wish and I should, and I think I should do more in French because, yeah, more and more people are following us in La Belle Province. So everyone, so for the people who are just tuning in, this is like Christmas for Carl's Wine Club right now today. This is one of the most important days of the year. We are revealing the top 10 wine of the year. And we're also going to talk about the 5 honorable mentions and our top 3 value wines. How did we end up here? After 1,200 wines tasted throughout the year. And my scores, then when I put a score on, when I taste it, that's what basically helped me to put in the big bunch, the 30 to the 40 top the top wines that I tasted this year. But between 96 plus was my highest score this year, 96 plus, and 93. There was 30 to 40 out of 1,200. And all of that, obviously the top 6 were all in order of the top scores. After that, I get in the big bunch where it's all 93, 94. 94 flat, because there's a difference between 94 and 94 plus. 94 plus and 95, half a point. It's a big deal when we're getting to the ranking, right? So I ended up with like 20 wines at the end that they could all have made the list. So because I've decided I really want, and I decided that the first year when we've done that we started our first year when we launched Carl's Wine Club, we did the top 10 wine. I wanted to talk about as many people as possible, as many producers as possible. We wanted to tell their story, as many as possible. So only one wines per producers are represented in the top 10 or in the whole lineup. Okay, so rule number one, I did not really pay attention between BC, Ontario. Everything kind of came together naturally. And talking about score, and I talked about that many times before, but a couple times, at least 4 or 5 times, I explained how I scored the wine. My scale on my rating on a scale of 100. How do I end up allowing scores every time I taste the wine? First and foremost, the price is very important for me in the equation, because my scores will go according to if the wine meet the asking price. So my baseline, I don't talk about wine below 88 points. 88 points is my line where I say, because I'm not out here, we're not in business to go out there and start to trash and bash about wine producer. It's hard enough to grow grape, to make wine, to put it to market and try to make a living. There's enough out there. There's enough out there who are making a career at trashing other people. We don't want to do that. So below 88 points, we don't talk about it. I don't publish it. I don't post about it. I don't feature them, definitely. That's why if you're Carl's Wine Club members and you receive the offers on a weekly basis, there's nothing below 88, because these wines are put aside or rejected. And I send a note to the producer, to the winery, informing them that the wine is below our threshold. Sometimes it may be because there's a flaw in the wine, or it just didn't meet the expectation. Doesn't meet the price point. So the price is very important. 88 point, to me, that's a good wine. It's a wine who's honest. An honest wine that it meets its price point. I appreciate it, but it's not something that I go crazy about. It's not something that I would necessarily come back to my mind and talk about it and refer to it in terms of talking about it to friends, to people, to recommendation. That's something who's going to go under the radar. But when it comes up, I say, honest wine. It meets its price point. It's interesting. It's good, but there's nothing too crazy about it. 88 points, it's my floor for where we move forward. If it's below that, we just don't talk about it. 89 point meets its price point. It's interesting. It's well made. And it gets really close to that threshold of 90 points, where that's a wine that's worth talking about. That wine can make a difference in the lineup of average wine. Can spot it right away. This is a superior wine amongst its peer in the same category, same grain varietal, same style. Okay, can spot this one for sure. So this is my 89 point, just a little slightly below that, meets its price point. If it's a $25 wine, shows like $25. It's well made. There's no apparent flaws or anything. Something that I will be willing to buy if I go somewhere and to talk about it. So now we're getting to the 90 and above. 90 point meets the expectation, and it's something that I'm waiting to talk about it. And it can be a quick and easy recommendation in its category. Obviously, expectations are not the same for a $20 wine than a $50 wine or a $30 wine, depending the category. The 50 plus, the 25 to 45, below 25, expectation is completely different, right? And I'm sure when you're at home and you crack a bottle of 25, less than $25, your expectation is completely different. That if you host dinner, you had the main course and you're cracking the feature of the night, you have a completely different expectation. Same here when I taste it. So price point, it's very important in my whole equation again. Okay, 91 points. That's where we're starting to get serious here. 91 points. It's obviously 1 point above the 90 points. Duh, thanks Einstein. But okay, 91, 92. To me, when I'm starting to talk about rockstar wine, it's 93. That's where 93 to 96, that's that category of the 3 to 4% wine that I think. Well, less than that, I would say, if you look at my number this year, yeah, let's say the top 5%, okay? So 90 to 91, 92, this is leading up the way to the rock star level. 93, that's when we start talking, it blows, absolutely blow the price point out of the water. If it's $25, it tastes like a $40 wine. That's a wine that on the lineup, that's the one that I can pick right out of the gate. It's not even close. That's the wines who shine. 93, that's where it starts. 94, that's where we're getting close. That's where it's the absolute. That's the one where we're going to talk about it this year. 94, you are making the top 10. You are right up there. You are in the top 3% of the year. And above than that, getting closer. The top score that I ever gave to wine, it's to Pearl Marisette, Cuvée 19e, 2007, 98 points. I have never rated a wine above 98 points. This year, the top score, it's a 96 plus. Okay? And if you go from top to bottom here, so 96 plus, there's one wine. There's one wine above 90. There's two wine above 96 this year, because number one, 96 plus, 96 for this number two. Okay, so now we're talking about la creme de la creme, and it gets where when I get above, because 94 to me, that's that's one of the top wine of the year. That it's obvious. I can tell right out of the gate. And above that, it's in reference amongst the other top wine that I ever tasted. Last year, the upper bench Pinot Noir that I gave 95 points. The Nota Bene 2018, I believe, that I gave 96 points. So I can now, if I give that to this one, the price point is compared to this one, how do I fare here? This is a 96. So this is a little bit how I do, how I score the wine, and I've been scoring a lot of wines in the past 5 years. So this scale is so well anchored in my process. It's totally connected to my palate. I smell, I taste, I know the price, and boom. Obviously, that's for the obvious. Sometimes I have to spend half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour to be able to put a score down. Sometimes I'll have to open another bottle to go side by side to give me a better idea and more precision, to be more precise into my thinking. I don't take any score lightly, because even if it's just like in the backyard, if I'm with a bunch of friends, every wine that I taste, I'm going to put some notes down. And if I put a score on, this score is going to stand for the rest of the year, because when I get to late December, all of these have a chance to go in the top 10 wine of the year. So not one score that I gave is just been thrown out without that thought process. So yes, the price point is extremely important in my thought process, because my expectation, and I believe that every wine drinker out there, international, Canadian, or whatever, their expectations are different when it's about an entry-level wine or a premium luxury wine. I truly believe in that. And tell me in the comments if you're different, if you don't have a different expectation, a $100 wine or a $20 wine, and please explain me your rationale. I need to understand your rationale about that, because to me it's very simple. If I pay I fork $100 out of my pocket, my expectations are much higher than if it's just like, hey, guess what? I bought 2 bottles for $40 and I will give it a try. So here you go. So that's my Carl. And I think that Mira really bought into that same scale thought process, because often now when we taste side by together and I get stuck on one wine and she's looking at me, it's like she knows I'm kind of like, okay, I'm stuck here, and she's gonna give me her score just to unstuck me, and that's how sometimes it's pretty helpful. Now in my top 10, there's the Mira's Choice in there this year. That was a really like this. It would have been in my in that 30 top wine, but there's the Mira's Choice in there that we're gonna talk about it later on. But yeah, I thought it was really important for me to start with that, with the explanation of how I rate the wine, and at the end of the day, it's how we put forward that top 10 wine of the year. I know people are getting antsy here. Leslie's like, hey, can you please tell me what is your top 10? How about we review a little bit the wine about last year? Number one, what was the top 5 last year?
Yeah, so I put a link at the beginning with the wines from last year. I think it was.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, at the start. I'll drop it in the comments now. So number 1, oh no, should we start with 5 last year was Two Sisters Cab Franc 2016. Then you did the 19 Nota Bene, the 17 Ice Cellars Cap Sauv, the 18 Upper Bench Estate Grown Pinot Noir, and number 1, of course, was the 17 Pearl Morissette Chardonnay Cuvée 19e, which is an outrageous Chardonnay. So these were last year's. So where should we start, Carl, for this year? Should we do value wines or honorable mentions?
Let's do the value wine to start.
Okay.
Okay. Finishing by the winner, because the winner is the, you know which one. So let's start with one of the two of the other.
Sounds great. So
sounds great.
Why don't we just start announcing them? So the first value wine for this last year is the 2021 Domaine de Cambrai from Tidal Bay.
There you go. So the Tidal Bay 2021 from Nova Scotia, it was $17.95 or something like that. It was definitely under $19. The Tidal Bay appellation, it was something unique who came out of the Nova Scotia Wine Grower Association, because there's such a special and exclusive type of, they have their own type of environment, so they created their own Tidal Bay blend with a bunch of regulation around that. And yes, thanks, Mike. It's part of the whole getting. There's too much going on around here. Okay, drum roll. I'm in charge of the drum roll today.
That's a good drum roll.
Yeah, was it a good one?
Yeah, I like
There
it.
you go. So, and the score for my Tidal Bay, Domaine des Grands Prix Tidal Bay 2021 was, if I believe, 91 points. Pretty close, if not.
Okay, Carl.
Sorry. Oh, you know what? No, that's the part. That's the document that we lost.
Yeah, that's the problem. So, yeah, what's your second value wine of the
The
year?
second one from Ontario. That's from 13th Street Winery. That is the spectacular Cab Merlot from 13th Street. The vintage was 2020, I believe. It was a 91 points wine. Incredible value, incredible ripeness. For me, being here in BC and seeing a wine at that quality for under $16 or $16.95 or something like that, including tax, that's not something that we see around here. It's mind-boggling to me how a winery can put that in bottles at that level of quality. It's just like absolutely incredible. So 13th Street produced some pretty darn amazing top level wine. And this one is one of their, and we've done a couple of value offer with 13th Street towards the year, because they have a line of wine all around the $20, $21, $22 bar, also under $20, and they are all absolutely wonderful quality. So yes, 13th Street Cab Merlot was one of our top value wine. And the top value wine of the year is this one. This is Vineland Estate 2020 Cabernet Franc, made by Brian Schmid. This is a 2020. Made in, I would say, probably like close to 1,000 cases. Probably it's a lot for small producers. The level, obviously, the 2020 vintage was such an amazing vintage, and it offered the possibility to make entry-level wine at such a high level. There you go, top value wine. Thank you, Mira. Here, dealing with Vineland Estate has been such a privilege this year. We've done multiple things with them, and this wine, it was their biggest seller. It made like some of the lists in Ontario, like some of the best wine at the LCBO and all of that. But I would say for when we had it, I think they gave us an extra $1 off, like something lunatic, like $15.95, the price point. I swear, this wine drinks for like a $25. No doubt about that. It's such an incredible value, and there's many wine that we've mentioned this year. Whoa, this is gonna, we need to keep that in mind. This wine is an extreme value. I love that. But I would say that this Cab Franc, there was a few wine close to that, but when it was time for me to put the top three together, it was pretty much like this one was pretty much set. To answer Mariam's question, this is the 2020 Cab Merlot, and I believe that it was the Expression series here from the vintage 2020.
Yeah, and it was $17.95.
$17.95, including tax. Including tax.
Pretty amazing stuff. Amazing what they were able to do. Now, should we head into the honorable mentions, Carl Boucher? All right, we'll start with one that we discovered pretty recently, actually. And we were just blown away because this was their first, or how should we say this? It was the first time that they were making wine at their actually winery site. The last few years, they made wines at a different winery. So there's a brand new winery, and out of the gate, they were just kicking butt, right? So this is
big
the
time
2020 Code Winery. Clone 777, Dijon Clone 777 Pinot Noir. So they do different clones, right, Carl? Like you can taste specific clones of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
So this is such an incredibly interesting concept, because Shea Code and Hardy Code, they started that in Okanagan Falls, actually, in a really cool spot in Okanagan Falls. Nearby some Pinot Noir specialists like Mira family vineyard. So it's really a really good spot for Pinot Noir down in Okanagan Falls. And their concept is to have 4 different clones of Pinot Noir. They do one cuvee where they blend everything together, but they also do 4 single vineyards, single clone, single batch of wines. So all of these single clone can be tasted side by side. So you have the Pommard, you got Dijon 777, you have Dijon 105, also one of the German clones. So very distinctive style of Pinot Noir. When you take out the terroir, like not talking about what the impact of the dirt, of the barrel, because everything is done the same way. Same barrel treatment, same vineyard management, because it's from the same vineyard, just different blocks. So the code, this one, and the top of that pack was the 777 Dijon, who is a Burgundian clone, and they planted their vines 4 years ago, for God's sake. 4 years ago, and already out of the gate, first vintage in their own facility. Own facility is a big name. It's their garage, basically. Yeah. We visited there. It's a garage. Yeah, a garage with a table and a couple chairs and barrel. So
right.
so yeah.
So let's see. This is a sort of drum roll. Let's go to the next honorable mention, Carl Boucher. Let's have a little fun here.
I follow your lead. You're the boss out there. I'm just a talker. There you go. From Lake Erie, North Shore appellation. My another honorable mention is 2016 Mushadri Syrah. It made the top 5 Syrah at International Syrah Day this year, among the big dogs of BC and Ontario. There was a beautiful complexity and outstanding old world style of delivery into that. So, and that's what really connected me with the Lake Erie North Shore, and especially what Mushadri does down there, and everything I've tasted from Mushadri. It's fantastic. And that Syrah really opened our eyes of what they're doing out there. And we just got another sample box of their new releases. So we're excited to start tasting a little bit more about Mushadri. But Melissa Mushadri and the family, because it's a true family affair out there, doing a crazy, outstanding job. But it's coming from an appellation in Ontario where it's not very known. It's Lake Erie, North Shore appellation. There's like 15, 17 wineries out there, but what Mushadri is doing, it's worth trying. They even make Nebbiolo and Barbera out there. There's a Barbera Cabernet blend that they're making that's pretty cool, and 100% Nebbiolo. So, but I fell in love with the 2016. I gave it a 94 points. So if I say 94 points, because that wine stands out pretty darn great, and it's a $40 wine. So yeah,
I think it's 42 or so, including tax. So great.
There you go.
Great for that quality for sure. Then we have.
Hey, where's the music?
Oh yeah, we need the music.
Come on. Thank you,
There we
thank you,
go.
thank you. So from from Lake Erie North Shore, we're gonna go to Niagara Escarpment, but from the small appellation of Lincoln Lake Shore appellation, another winery that we just discovered this year, a winery that we had an incredible experience this summer, one of the lengthiest tasting that we had, a marathon at 38 degrees, watching our kids running up and down the Senchuk Vineyard in the Lake Erie North Shore, thinking that they're gonna die of sun exposure. I remember that day. But anyway, their Chardonnay, the 2019 Leaning Post Senchuk Vineyard Chardonnay, was a wow factor. Even if they're right across the street from the very, very famous Grimsby Hillside Vineyard. And what they're doing from Grimsby Hillside is really freaking fantastic. But their wines from their own vineyard has something special. And all of the wines at Leaning Post are very well rated across the country for multiple other wine writers. I remember, like, in the fall, watching the result of the wine line. They rated their wines, and these are like 94 and 95 points, just like I rated them at the beginning. But for me, the top wine from Elia is from his own vineyard that now it's been taken care of for just around 10 years. And what he took when he took over, it was completely dead. He had to restart from like a big mess, and he turned that around. And 10 years later, this is an absolute gem of a vineyard. And his Pinot is fantastic. His Bubblies are fantastic. He did some cool Rieslings. Even his the Kazan, is it the Kazan Syrah? Really, really, really good. But that Chardonnay, Honourable Mention, one of my other 94 points that I had to talk about because it's an outstanding wine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. So next we have the 2016 Intersection Axiom.
After having the 2015 Axiom in the 2020 top wine of the year, I think it made it to the number 6 in 2020 with their 2015 vintage. When we tasted the 16, it was pretty darn clear that wine was material for top wines. Like, we knew that it belonged among the big dogs. We knew it is just like consistently in the same style of the 2015. 2016 was another great vintage, and it totally delivers. 33% Cab Sauv, 33% Cab Franc, 33% Merlot. This is made intersection way for people who likes intersection. This wine, it's made completely interesting. It's big, it's bold, it's juicy. But what made the difference to me with intersection, because they're focusing a lot on Merlot. They have their Alluvia and the Silica from the same plot. But the Axiom always has, to me, a little bit more complexity. There's a little bit more to deliver. This is like 15 and 16. That's the 2 vintages that I've tasted from them. I haven't tasted the 17 yet, and I've never tasted prior to the 15. So they're 2 out of 2. Like 2020, they made the top 10, and now they're in our honorable mention. But Melissa is doing a fantastic job at intersection. So, boom, bang on, another 94 points.
Absolutely. Just one sec here. Sorry. All right. What do we have next here, Carl Boucher? We have
our last
honorable mention, and then we'll get in the top 10,
the last
right?
honorable mention. Yeah. Oh, this one could have been easily in the top 10 as well.
One of
I
our
had the
favorites,
last
but you
four
had so many Chardonnays that you needed to have less Chardonnays in the top 10. You were trying to be fair, right?
I tried to have a good representation. But in the meantime, I tasted more Chardonnay than any other grape varietals. It opened the doors to more high score. There was a lot, and we produce in Canada a lot of world-class Chardonnay. Every year at Chardonnay du Monde, Canada pops out. When we see Decanter World, Canada's coming up, and we always see Chardonnay and Chardonnay. We produce outstanding quality of Chardonnay. And Westcott is one of the great Chardonnay producer in our country. They are on the Beamsville bench. Not necessarily. It's more in Jordan, I believe. Anyway, incredible producer of Pinot and Chardonnay. This one is from the Butler's Grand Vineyard. This is the 2020 Chardonnay. Outstanding. That was a 94 points. There's not a whole lot of wine where I go back and I purchase more to put in the cellar. That doesn't happen quite often. But yes, this was an extra purchase. A couple of others of these ones because I want to have some of these wines aging in our cellars because it's absolutely incredible. We did a fun tasting with their winemakers and Grant Westcott this summer, and some of our members where we tasted all of their single vineyard, but we tasted the home vineyard versus Butler's Grand Vineyard, but we did 19 vintage versus 2020 vintage. So some pretty cool stuff that we've done there with them. And Butler's Grand Chardonnay, absolutely world class.
Yeah. So let's get into the top 10 finally at long last. Here we go. So in number 10.
Can I have a second to go have a sip of water? Mira.
Yeah.
Mira. Can we pause?
Go for it.
Thank you.
So while Carl is getting a sip of water, we are doing the top 10 Canadian wines of 2022. Thanks for stopping by, you guys. Sounds like Carl's got a little frog in his throat. He talks a lot, and he doesn't actually drink the wines, right? He always spits. So, absolutely, Mike. Average Wine Enthusiast saying that Canadian Chardonnay is world-class from so many producers. I totally agree. Probably one of our wines that gets put on the map, but that's what's so interesting about Canada is we produce a vast amount of varietals, and we do a lot of them really, really well, don't we? Yeah, and Xavier, that's a great point. Not yet at world-class prices, so really great value. Carl did a tasting of Chardonnays from Canada and Chardonnays from France. In many of them, blind. The Canadian ones kicked the butt of the French ones, but they were at like a third of the price. So there you go. Now's the time to stock up, just like Daryl's done, hey? Great work. All right. So let's get back to here. Let me see what sneak peek I can give you guys of the top 10s. Carl, you coming back? In number 10, we have the 2021 Seven Directions Tractor and Vines Pinot Noir Rosé from Daniel Bontarin, who is like an amazing winemaker. And yeah, we still have lost Carl. You're right, Clay. I'm not sure where he's at. Oh, there he is. You got your drink of water?
I got my drink of water.
Woohoo!
I'm back.
You're back. We just started talking about
Mira went ahead.
And our
Okay.
And sorry. I think Daniel's on the line.
Is he?
Daniel. And you
There
know
you
what's
go.
ironic?
So sorry, I kind of I lost a little bit of my my flow in my momentum, but yeah, number 10. So there's something that I wanna mention here, because it's a 93 point wine. In the honorable mention, I had a bunch of 94, but it was extremely important for me to put that wine in my top 10. Too many people around are taking rosé not as seriously as they should. I've read stuff from other wine writers saying that rosé shouldn't be taken seriously. Rosé are made to be drink now, and they're not serious wine. They're just a byproduct of what we do, and it drives me bonkers. There's no other category in wines or growing that fast around the world, and there's so many incredible rosés, especially in our country. And Daniel is the master of rosé. So to me, to put Seven Direction in the top 10, I wanted to make a point that it was so important to have our top Canadian rosé in the top 10, even if the score was not as a 94, 93, but well deserved. Best rosé producers in our country. That's what he does. He is a specialist of rosé. Is two rosés, two single vineyard, single varietal. This one is from like 500 meters from our house here in Trout Creek in Summerland, BC. It's the Tractor and Vines Pinot Noir rosé.
Vineyard.
Amazing purity, outstanding texture, richness, but minerality, everything you look for a world-class or Provençal rosé or something like that. Obviously, not the same grapes or not the same region, but this is world-class and worth to look at. So that was the point that I wanted to make.
Absolutely. What's our number 9, girl?
Number 9. There you go. So number 9, we are getting into something pretty cool. Something very small batch made. And we tasted that. I think that was at Mira's birthday. I received a package from Ontario at some point with Fungalar wine. Great value Rieslings, good Cabernet Franc, single vineyard as well. But we had that small bottles, that small 375, and I didn't really pay attention exactly what it was until one day I turned the bottle around and I see it was sparkling, a Riesling sparkling ice wine. And I was absolutely shocked how cool that was. And we popped that one night. And I remember I was with Rob Amersley, owner, winemaker at Black Market Wine Company. And both of us were floored. We were so impressed with the texture, the mousse of that wine, the thick, rich, but fluffy texture. It was just so unique and so cool. I had 2 bottles of it. The second one was as good as the first one. And I was like, you know what? No one else, maybe there's other who makes that kind of stuff, but at that level of quality, it was so cool that it had to be in my top 10 wine of the year. And yeah, 94 points. This is the Fungalar Affinity X Sparkling Riesling Ice Wine from Ontario. Now, I have to mention a little something. These wines are going to be available for purchase tomorrow morning, okay? There's a few in there who are not available. Unfortunately, Seven Direction gets sold out right out of the gate. So the rosé from Daniel Botter and Seven Direction is not going to be in there. There's 2 wines where they're not available at all. A couple of the wines are going to be a replacement for it, but all of these wines tomorrow morning are going to be available for purchase. And Fungalar have done something pretty cool. They're doing free shipping across the country for 3 bottles or more. So check out your inbox tomorrow for this. It's pretty cool. Dessert wine, sparkling Riesling in 375 mil. It's worth.
So wild. Like it
It
really
is.
takes your mouth for a ride. Like it's a really cool experience to have this ice wine, refreshing at the same time, like decadent.
Oh, and I remember Rob and I looking at each other, and okay, if there's kids who are listening right now, like, just plug your ear. But it's sex in the bottle. Absolutely. I'm sorry. You can record me. You can replay to a different channel. Block me from this. This is sex in the bottle, plain and simple. And simple. So yeah, absolutely incredible, fantastic.
Xavier's asking, is it a dosage? And Mike's asking what your expectations of ice wine are, in a nutshell.
Well, let's start with Mike. My expectation with ice wine. Let's say, for many years, I thought that ice wine were made to be exported to China. Plain and simple. But I started to discover stuff like the real good Riesling ice wine, some real good Cabernet Franc ice wine. It's worth to be discovered. My expectation, I don't really have high expectation when I get into it. We had that nice Kerner, Mira, from
we had a 2000
Kerner ice wine from Tenoran Creek. It's fantastic. I like to be surprised by ice wine. I like to go into that with no expectation after the meal, and just to let, I don't know, it's just more that takes me for a ride or whatever it can be. But this caught my attention right out of the gate because of the texture. Because of the texture. The texture was just like the mousse was like, it was like an aspic, or like, I don't know, how do you call it? You know, like that dessert, like that you whip fruits and like.
Yeah, like, oh, I know in Romania what we call it, but yeah. So with the
egg
like
white.
Egg
yeah,
whites,
exactly.
Right? Like an ambrosia type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible texture. So, and Xavier, I didn't spend a lot of time on the technical aspect of the Fungalar. If it's dosage, you know what? I have to get back. I have to get back to the whole technical sheet. Is it dosage? Probably. Not sure. Well, I don't know. So I'm not gonna lie.
We'll have to find out.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
might be in your tasting notes that we'll publish tomorrow. And it's been featured in the club, right? Like, we have featured this one before, or no?
No, we have never featured that. We featured Fungalar, but we've never featured that wine before.
That's right. They sent it to us as just like a little side thing, and we were like, wow, awesome. Well, there you go. It made it into the top 10. Pretty interesting stuff. What's number 8? It is the 19 Maverick Estate Bushvine Syrah, which goes in here because I liked it so much.
So I was very impressed with it. To me, it was outstanding material right out of the gate. It's the first top wine that we tasted this year. Mira fell in love so much with it that it became her absolute favorite wine. So I had to run with it and just to follow the lead. And yes, it is a 94 points. And also there's a reason why. This is under $30. So from South Okanagan, okay, from Oliver, Bushvine is an incredible value wine. If I put this wine among all of the top most expensive Syrah, this guy is holding his own amongst the top. That's crazy. And it's $30, $29.50 something. So that's what takes this wine to the 94 level, right? So, and yes.
And Clay is saying he thinks the 2020 will challenge the 19 for value. Well, I sure hope so, because the 19 is so dang out. But they are giving us some of the bit that's left of the 2020 starting tomorrow. So that's exciting.
So
Yes,
So
and we do have to be quiet on the price point because everything's
yes,
going
we
up in
should.
price,
So 19 was
especially.
already sold out. When I tasted, and Clay, I totally agree. I give 94 points to 19 and 93 to the 2020. So very close to each other. I just thought that the 19 had a little bit more elegance, and that would maybe just a style preference to me. And I think I have to blame you, Clay Martin, for my extreme appreciation of the 19 vintage. You started me on that over a year ago, texting me over and over. You should taste more 19. This is so good. And I fell in love with 2019 vintage. You better be. I fell in love with 19 vintage. It became my favorite Okanagan vintage. And yes, because of the elegance, they're a little bit more elegance than the 2020, but 94 versus 93 points, same price point. Tomorrow, the 2020 will be available. This is one of the two wines that we don't have the exact vintage available. We get the substitute, the next one. Let's put it that way. The next one, and but yeah, at the same price point. The 2020 sold like crazy at the end of the summer when they released it. They released it just around Carl's Wine Club, Top Syrah of BC. We released that one with our pack as well. It sold like crazy. They put 15 cases aside for Carl's Wine Club. So that's where we're at.
Amazing. So number seven,
the top sparkling wine of the year. I called it in April when I tasted it the first. It said it was one of the best sparkling wine available in Canada at that point. This is the Première Cuvée from 13th Street Winery. And
after you said that, I have to say, it's happened a few times this year. After you said that, it won platinum at the Wine-A-Line, and a bunch of other people gave it really high scores too. So that's exciting.
I was the very first to be on record to say that was one of the best wine in the country. So now I have to say that I apologize. I mentioned at the very beginning that there's not two wines from the same producer. And I just realized that there's two wines from 13th Street.
Well, because of the value wine.
One of the top value wine and this one. I just went like, whoa. Anyway, 13th Street won Ontario Winery of the Year this year at Wine-A-Line Canada. So top Ontario winery, second, number 2 in Canada. So I guess I'm not the only one to like what 13th Street do, but yes, this 2015, it's a blend of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, 55-45, if I'm not mistaken. This is a champagne method, so second fermentation in the bottle, really classic champagne style. Joanne just talking, yeah, JP's the best. Absolutely. He's from Chablis. He works the Chardonnay in a very unique way. His bubbles are some of the best. This one, this one is the other wine where we don't have the exact vintage available. The 15 flew off the shelf. Absolutely disappeared in a flash. I couldn't even get another. I couldn't even get another bottle for myself. So the 17 vintage is the one that they are offering us at the same price for this promotion. So tomorrow, the 15 is not going to be available, but the 17. But for the top 10, the 2015 Première Cuvée, 13th Street, outstanding blends of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, $39.99 as well, right? Under $40.
Including tax.
Go out there, go find me a champagne under $40. I challenge you to find me a champagne at $40. That quality ain't happening. Ain't happening. So yeah, 13th Street, number 7. Well done, job, JP. Incredible bubble. I'm a big fan of what you do.
Amazing stuff. All right. Are we ready for number 6?
Number 6.
Number 6, we're staying in Niagara for this one. It's the Bellaterra Cabernet Franc 2020.
Number 5. Okay, yeah, let's flip them. Yep, no problem. That's okay.
Did I mix
no
them
worries.
up?
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's all good. That's all good. Same thing, same score. Same score.
Okay.
Okay. We have a tie for 5 and 6. Since the very beginning, we have a great relationship with Bellaterra. We know they're making outstanding wine. Their Chardonnay Surly made the top value wine list a couple years ago. This Cabernet Franc from the 2020 vintage absolutely blew my socks off. I had the privilege to do barrel samples with the 2020 Big Red. Let's backtrack for a second. We know from by now, I said it so many times, that the 2020 vintage in Ontario was proclaimed vintage of the century, one of the top Merlot, one of the top vintage in Ontario history. So that allows the wineries to make outstanding big reds. Bellaterra focused on big reds a lot. And I remember tasting at the very beginning a vertical of 14, 15, and 16 of their Cabernet Franc. 17 was outstanding. And when I was there last year, we spent a lot of time tasting in barrels in barrel with Fred DiProfrio, the winemaker, Lou and Marcel. We tasted the Cab Franc, the Merlot, the Cab Sauv, all of them. Merlot was at the top in barrel. When everything came in bottles, we got our samples, we tasted them all side by side. The Cabernet Franc had a small edge on the other two out of the gate. The Cab Franc has a little bit more of an easy drinking compared to the 20 Merlot, the 2020 Cab Sauv. This is the best Cab Franc that I've tasted. The best Cab Franc so far from the 2020 vintage from Ontario that I've tasted. And there's going to be a lot of them available. A lot. Fred absolutely nailed it out of the park. So 94 plus for the Cabernet Franc. It was almost at the 95 points level. Incredible. So, yeah. I know that Pierre Nollet called me this weekend. He said, Carl, Jesus Christ, I tasted the Merlot from Bellaterra. Incredible. Yes, from the same vintage. They're twin. They're so close to each other. But yeah, to me,
here I fixed it for you.
that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, what's number 5? Those of you who are paying attention, you already saw. So number 5 is actually, let's see if we can get this right. Yeah, so number 5 is now number 6. Like that, I mixed the two up, but they're the same score. So I guess they could be either way.
Exactly. So same level, 94 plus. Black Hills Estate from Oliver, BC, one of the big guns in the country. Obviously, this is the producer of Nota Bene. Nota Bene made our list 2 years in a row. The flagship wine of Black Hills made it number 1 2 years ago, number 3, or not in the top 5 last year for 2 different vintage. This year, the Ipso Facto, who is a blend of Cab Sauv and Syrah. So that's a Washington State style blend. Cab Sauv, Syrah split almost 50-50. I had tasted the whole lineup of Black Hills from the 2020 without the Ipso Facto. And when this wine came out, I tasted it, and that was my favorite of the entire lineup. Even better than the Nota Bene. So incredible incredible. And to me, it's so cool to see these new type of blends, especially that's the influence of Washington State. And I knew that Russ Wise, master of wine, the winemaker at Black Hills, wanted to reintroduce that blend in the portfolio. He's a big fan of that. He has a good Aussie background, and this is popular as well in Australia. He wanted to bring back the Syrah Cabernet blend and absolutely nailed it out of the park. Ipso facto, we have 10 cases put aside from at the winery. It will be available for more tomorrow. Stay tuned on your email tomorrow morning. But we have this exact one available tomorrow. So Black Hills, 3 years in a row in our top 10. Not too surprised, one of the top producer in the country. So yeah, so we're done with the half of it.
Half of it. Are we ready to go to number 4?
We sure.
Still in BC. We've got
still in BC. So now we're going from all the way down to Oliver. Let's drive all the way back up to Kelowna. From the West Kelowna Wine Trail, one of the top producer in Kelowna, Mushadri, winemaker Jeff Undermark, formerly from Ontario, used to be at Mary Nesson, and I have a great pedigree of winemaking. Moved to Western Canada 4 or 5 years ago. When he took over the portfolio at Mushadri, it was a big turnaround in the quality of the wine. It became one of my top favorite BC winery. In the last 3 years, they're at least in my top 3. What they do is spectacular. Their Original Vines series is off the chart. They feature grapes from their own holding, from the Similkameen Valley, from Okanagan Falls, from Kelowna. But this is their Original Vines Cabernet Sauvignon. This is my top Cab Sauv of the year. Extremely young, from the beautiful 2019 vintage. When I tasted it, I had an open score on that one, 93 to 95. I knew it was an incredible potential when I tasted that. I tasted it again lately, and yes, I confirmed the 95 points score. There's a little bit of old world complexity in there, but that's that bright minerality brings me a little bit to Bordeaux, intense graphite, what I'm looking for into a Cabernet Sauvignon. It's not over fruity. It's the tannin, obviously it's Cab Sauv. The tannins are not ripping my face off. The oak is very well integrated. I love that Cab Sauv. And I had other options. I had some great options across the country. This one came on top. And at number 4, this is an extremely a beautiful representation of what we can do in terms of Cabernet Sauvignon. This very wine will be available. It's a $49.99 wine, so a $50 wine, but it's worth it. Now we're getting into the big dogs in the country. We're getting into the more luxurious price point. This is the top bracket of price point. Again, if the price point it's part of the top process in the score, but these wines are made to last. These are cellar wine. These are serious wines.
Very exciting. So here's the top 3. Are we ready here for number 3? Let's check it out. We're out to BC, right across the lake from where we are right now, to Da Silva, which has quickly become one of our very favorites.
So the top 3. We're in the top 3. So I'll tell you one thing. This is the 0.5% of what we've tasted this year, the cream of the crop. And if you have listened to the World Chardonnay Day or Chardonnay Marathon or infamous Chardonnay Marathon that we've done in April.
We did 2 within a span of a couple days. So within like 3 or 4 days, we tasted over 55 or so Chardonnays.
We got samples from all over the country.
This one. How do I do it? This one came out on top.
So we had lots of options for that day. That was the best Chardonnay tasted of the whole lineup at International Chardonnay Day. 2016 vintage from the Silva. This is from the Legato series. To me, it was just, there was no flaws into that. There was no flaws in that wine. It was because we had so many Chardonnays lined up, and there was some bachelors, and there was like some of the leaning post. There were like some of the top, but many of the top producers. They were all lined up side by side, and every time we were coming back to this wine, this one was standing out. We didn't put the 2017 Cuvée 19e in the lineup by purpose. The 2018 was in the lineup this year because we knew the potential already. We didn't want to bring the best wine ever back into the lineup. We wanted to see where we stand at that very moment. But yeah, this was my first 96 points this year. This one was 95 plus, sorry. It was just on the verge of 96. But yeah, best wine, best Chardonnay in BC. To my opinion, I didn't taste the whole Checkmate line. I know that Checkmate are known to be some like the best Chardonnay producer. I'm talking about style and personality. This wine has so much personality, so well made, so well balanced, incredible concentration. That's when I looked across the lake and I said, this guy is freaking good. And this talking about Richard De Silva. I knew he was really good. I knew his reputation. I knew how good it could be. But when I tasted that Chardonnay, I was like, holy shit. Holy shit. This is next level. This is top level quality. So yeah, this is our top BC wine, because the next two are from Ontario. So from the 2022, our 2020 from last year, the top BC wine of the year, the Silva Legato Chardonnay is the top BC wine. Unfortunately, this wine is not available. It's all gone, unfortunately.
And the newest one is not out yet. So yeah, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's still good to celebrate what it was, and to know that De Silva is one of these wineries you just have to keep your eye out on. When they put out a release, it's small. I think this one was like 98 cases, right?
Yeah.
So
and it came pretty dark. Yeah, and you know, that Legato series is taking off right now. Like, people started more and more starting to realize how good the wines are. More and more people are starting to realize that Richard De Silva is playing in the major league, is playing with the big boys right now. So yeah, there's a very few little, but now, from now on, listen to us. When we say that something great's coming out from De Silva, you better jump on it, because when it's gone, it's gone.
Well, you know what? Hopefully, we'll be one of the first to get a pick of the next edition of this one.
And I'm hoping to be able to get in the barrel room at some point very soon, and to get a peek of the new one. Wink, wink.
That would be awesome.
Richard De Silva, are you listening? Richard De Silva, are you listening?
At one point.
I think
Yeah. Are
we
you
did,
ready for
eh?
number two? We're almost.
Am I
What's
ready
that?
for number 2?
Are you ready for number 2?
I'm ready for number 2.
The
There you go.
Bachelor Wisner Foxcroft No Chardonnay. Now we
There
tasted
you go.
this at like what 1 a.m. midnight for the first time
After traveling 16 hours.
on our way to Niagara, and it was late and it was crazy and there were problems with the flights, and we got in, and Thomas Batchelder, we meet him in person for the first time, and he says, guys, you have
At
to
the
stop by.
Batcave.
I have at the Bat Cave, I have every single one of my wines open with only a little sip taken out. I just opened them, and you guys need to take these with you because I'm leaving to Europe tomorrow. So that's what we did. And of course, we couldn't get home and get to sleep. I mean, after that, so we had to taste them all. And then we got to this one, I don't know, after about 12 other ones. And this
Probably.
was the one where there were about 4 of us tasting. We all went, wow. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this one is the 2019 Batchelder Wismer Foxcroft No. Let me tell you a little story. We just talk about oh, there you go. That's going on and on here in the chat room. I need to focus here. So we're talking about 2019 vintage earlier with Clay Martin here about BC 2019 vintage. How I'm a big fan of 19 because of the elegance. No later than Tuesday morning last week, I had a conversation with Thomas Batchelder and Mary Delaney Batchelder. We're on the phone on a conference call because we at Carl's Wine Club and the Canadian Wine Challenge be featuring Batchelder in a very short period of time that I'm really freaking excited about. But anyway, we're talking about how the 2020s right now are getting reviews from all over the world and how great people are seeing the 2020 vintage from and I'm talking to Thomas, and I said, so Thomas, I understand how the 2020 is so well regarded, but for Chardonnay, I said, Thomas, I think this is one of the perfect vintage for Chard, and from I've seen from what you're doing, I think it suits so well. And he said, oh my God, Carl, you get it. And Thomas was so happy that someone tells him that he's not all over 2020 vintage. Especially, I love 2020 vintage. We're going to talk about it right after that. But for a Chardonnay, with that precision, with that amount of minerality, and the amount of intricacy and the complexity, like 2019 offered so much for a Chardonnay producer like Thomas Batchelder. And this is from the 20 Mile Bench, all natural fermentation. And this Chard, like Mira mentioned, we had 12 Chard open that night. We didn't want to go to bed, and this one was the rock star. My second favorite one of that lineup was the Grimsby Hillside. Was my number 2, but this one was my only 96 points. And what a fantastic! And I got a great news from Thomas yesterday that we have 15 cases of that very wine available for you guys tomorrow at $55 a pop. Yeah, an incredible Chardonnay.
Very, very good. Daryl makes a good point. Thomas Batchelder is known for his Pinot Noirs as well as Gamay.
Absolutely.
And we tasted a Pinot that got Carl dancing around yesterday because it was so good. Not yesterday, but like earlier this year. I don't think we tasted that one last year. Hey, Carl, we would have remembered that real good.
No, it was. That's why I thought I put it here for a reason. I wanted to show it. Yeah, no. It was tasted a couple weeks ago, so it was tasted last week. So it was not part of the 2022 tasting. It's going to be part of the 2023 tasting. We tasted the Laurie Vineyard from Batchelder Pinot Noir. Yes, very special. And Daryl, I totally agree. Thomas is known for his Pinot and Chardonnay, more and more for his Gamay now, developing his Gamay portfolio. This is something that I still need to to get in because I have a hard time to get in the Gamay groove, the Gamay philosophy. It's just like it doesn't grab me as much, but I'm getting there. I know with what Thomas do, I'm gonna get into a little bit more of the Beaujolais crew type. But yes, so Thomas Batchelder, I would say the or one of the best winemaker in the country. Very, very terroir specific. He gets grapes from all of the top growers, from very specific vineyards, specific plot of vineyards, and makes outstanding Chardonnay. Thomas learned in Burgundy. He also had a project in Oregon. Now he's back home in Ontario. But everything Thomas Batchelder touched turned into gold, in a sense that his wines are incredibly pure and complex. So this is our number 2, the Foxcroft, the 2019 Foxcroft, Wismer Foxcroft Nord, because he harvested a full block of the Foxcroft, the Wismer Foxcroft, but he split it in between the north part and the south part
of the vineyard,
noticing that it was a very different soil in that very specific plot, so he wanted to separate them.
And they do taste. It's so interesting. Totally different.
Yeah, totally different. So all yeah, right. Number 2 with 96 points.
And now we got the number 1. Are we ready?
I sure are. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are for the 2022, the best wine of the year. This is Rennie Estate Winery from the Beamsville Bench in Niagara, Ontario. This is 2016, the Colleen Adelaide's Block Appassimento Cabernet Franc. When we talk about special wine, that is a special wine in a nutshell. Listen, I can talk about that wine for the next 45 minutes to an hour, especially the way that we got connected to that very tasting on June 27 of this year, the day of my birthday. On our way to Toronto to a Red Sox game against the Blue Jays from Niagara, I got booked to that tasting. I've never met Graham Rennie before. I've never talked to him before, but from a person that we met a couple nights before at our Carl's Wine Club Winery of the Year party, he said, you have to go to see my friend Graham. He have outstanding wine. During the party, he comes back to me. He said, I just talked to him. He's going to wait for you at 11 a.m. on the 27th. And I'm just like, I just got booked for a tasting. Anyway, it turned out that we showed up at Graham's house with our 3 kids, a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 13-year-old.
And they're running around.
And Graham opened a special lineup of wine, and we learned about his story. First and foremost, we tasted the 2016 Christine Chardonnay that opened our eyes right out of the gate. We're like, whoa! We had the view on his on the Aaron Pond Benchland Vineyard. Like the view and the scenery was just absolutely perfect to put us in the mood of a serious wine tasting. And sitting in his basement, we tasted the G, the Super G. And when the Colleen came out in my glass, it was clear that something special was happening. It was clear that a very special moment in our tasting life was just happening at the moment. And yeah, this is the #1 wine this year. It's a 100% Cabernet Franc Appassimento. So for people who are not familiar with the Appassimento process, if you look on the international stage, that's the Amarone. You know, these big and bold and juicy wines from the northern Italy in the Veneto region. That's Appassimento. So that's what Graham do. And I believe that he's on the line with us, isn't he?
He sure is. I'm just not sure that he's connected quite yet. We can try, but I don't. Yeah, no, we're just having a little difficulty here connecting.
That's okay. That's okay. Listen, we just did a feature just before Christmas with the Rennie wines. Unfortunately, the Colleen, the 2016 Colleen, is long sold out. There's 50 cases. There were 50 cases of that produced. Small production. We've tasted to the declassified 2018 Colleen, who is the Onyx, half the price, more than half the price wine, but 100% Cabernet Franc Appassimento, and it's absolutely outstanding. So Graham is building his whole portfolio on Appassimento. His 50 acres vineyard located on the absolutely prime land of the Beamsville Bench. Beautifully sloped towards the right sun exposition, and he grows Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Chardonnay. The G assemblage is his Bordeaux blend, Appassimento. The Super G, it's his 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, Appassimento, and the Colleen is his Cabernet Franc. So, but the Colleen and the Super G are made only, exclusively in the best growing years. 16 was one of them. And now there's the 2020, whereas the Colleen, for the first time after 2016, there's a Colleen sitting in barrels waiting to be bottled in some period of time. So when we're talking about luxury wine, when we're talking about price point, listen, I mentioned it multiple times tonight during the show that when I score a wine, the price point is always in the equation, because that's where we set the expectation of the delivery, right? This wine is a $125 wine. This is at the very high bracket of price point in what Canadian wine industry has to offer. Very top one. When I tasted that wine and I look at Mira, I remember every single second of that, sitting down in Graham's basement at the tasting bar, looking out. And this, it's kind of weird to say that it's worth every single penny of $125, but every single sip was an experience. It's a rich, concentrated, and powerful wine, yet elegant. There's an elegance and the feminine style of Appassimento in all of that powerful, concentrated lineup of flavors. Because with the 16, how the season was shaped, you got all of the concentration in the grape that you needed to get there. Hey,
that's a hamster.
Oh my God.
Thanks, Gabby.
I knew at some point that's gonna happen. I knew that would happen.
He makes his debut. His name is Beanie Boucher. Yeah. So love this wine, and very exciting what we have in the glass right now. And Graham Rennie himself is actually on with us. So let's bring him on.
I made it.
You made it.
There you go.
Somewhat technologically challenged, I think.
All
You know
good.
what?
You're here now. Congratulations.
Congratulations, dear sir. We are excited and happy to have you on. And congratulations to get the #1 wine of the year.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Very pleased, excited. My daughter Colleen was here for dinner tonight, so I gave her the good news. She wants to take all the credit, you know, but she's not here to take it. I'll have to.
Why not?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So are you tasting some of that Colleen now, Carl?
So I wanted to go a little bit of a different way here, Graham, because I've been torn in the last couple of days. This is the #1 wine of the year. This is one of my very unique tasting experience in terms of Canadian wines that we had at your place in the summer. And as we know, this wine is sold out. There's the only way to get this in your glass is if Graham invites you for dinner one night and have a bottle of his cellar.
Yeah, that's right.
But I know
audio,
that for the
I can't hear your audio so well. You're bouncing around. I wonder if it's is it my computer?
Might be.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
It's it's coming in and out.
Huh. Mira,
Okay,
can you
it might be the computer. We're not hearing it anywhere else. So just see if you can turn up the volume or something like that on yours, Graham.
Okay.
I can also call you. But yeah, so this was the thing. We were like, well, we can't do this to people. Like there's a few of these wines that are in the top 5 that are totally sold out, right? And then the other day, Graham and Carl were chatting and came up with a brilliant idea. The Colleen is not a wine you make every year, right, Graham?
You know what? Sorry, Mira. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What a pain. I'm gonna give you guys a call right now. Give me a number to. Okay, I've got your number here. I think I got your number.
You got it there? Everyone has our number, so I can give it to you.
Okay, give it to me.
587-832-0130. Yeah, and then we'll get your volume on.
587-832
0130.
30. Okay. I'll dial that right now, and then I'll just mute my my computer.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a very special thing happening here.
So there you go. So someone here, France Marcoux, has a good idea. She said, Graham should offer futures on the Colleen. Well, listen, France, it looks like you're reading between the lines here. You are very, very, I love the way you're thinking. So Graham and I were talking, and he said, you know what, Carl, there's nothing I can do about the 16, but for the first time since 2016, I have a Colleen in barrel because, as you know, 2020 was a very exceptional vintage. And from there, maybe we can think of offering the Colleen in barrel, just like we do with Bordeaux en primeur, with the future. How about we offer Carl's Wine Club, for Carl's Wine Club members only, one of the 3 barrel of the Colleen right now. I'm like, are you serious? He say, hey, how about, and it all happened this week. On Wednesday, he said, I'm going to ship you by FedEx a bottle of the 2020. What's sitting in barrel right now. And we'll go and let's see if you want to go that way. So what I have here, France, Mike, Daryl, Pierre Nollet, all of you, my guys, who are like a little bit like collector style, right? I have the 2020 just out of barrels. There's 3 barrels of it, and Graham is winning to pre-sell one of the 3 barrels of the Colleen 2020, who's going to be bottled later at the end of this, probably at the end of the spring. Instead of charging $125 per bottle for the Colleen, because we're pre-selling it tonight, it's going to be $100 a bottle instead. So he's giving us a deal on top of giving us access of 1 barrel of the most freaking amazing wine that I've tasted this year. One of the top Canadian wine that I've ever tasted. The 2016 Colleen was elegant. It was a little bit more feminine with a little bit more sweetness, a beautiful length and complexity. The 2020 is full body, muscular, powerful, concentrated. This wine will be built for decades. So we have Graham back here. Graham, how can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. All good.
There you go.
Yeah.
All good. Sorry for the technical problem here.
No, it's I should have tested the system earlier. Sorry.
It's all good. Hey, we've got so what vintage is this, Carl? That's in barrel right now?
The 2020. So Mira, that's and so we're talking about what Graham does with the Super G and the Colleen. He will go on exclusively with vintages that he knows that will produce the top wine possible. So Graham, if you have to compare a little bit 2016 versus 2020, how can you compare these 2 vintages?
No? Okay.
No.
No sound? Oh,
No
that's
sound.
too bad.
No sound.
Oh, no. All right.
That's okay. That's okay. We're going to get you back, Daryl. Thank you. Too bad but that's funny because we have that conversation that we talked about it yesterday and a couple times this week about how unique the opportunity of having the 2020 in barrel right now, because the timing is absolutely perfect. Since 2016 in Ontario, no vintage came even close to what we got in 2020, and especially for big and powerful wine. So 2020 gave the winemakers and the grape grower everything they needed to produce fantastically premium, luxurious wine. And when we tasted that live, well, I had it in my glass on Friday night when we did the wine touring show. No one knew about it, but I knew from my first sip that, okay, this wine is an absolute bomb. So I have a hit now, and
that is a beauty. Holy cow. And this is from a barrel, and this is 3 days open.
Okay. Now it's just taking me back in the basement at the tasting bar in Graham's basement on June 27, when I said to Graham, that wine is a unique tasting experience. There was so much going on. That is the 2016 with more muscles and I would say even more concentration. This is a powerful wine. This is a wine who shows so much quality from the front to the back. I'd say like these ripe, rich, ripe fruit, even a little bit of dry fruit. But in the mid palate, to me, it's all about sweet tobacco leaves. It's about cocoa. It's about a little bit like cigar box, cherry cola. There's so much. It's so packed in the mid palate. Now, and like it's normal, like the tannin are powerful, but these tannins are going to melt down in the wine with age, and it's just going to show up like this has the potential to be one of the most incredible wine ever. Like this is right in line with the 2016. There's such a personality in that wine, and we don't see made in Canada a Marrone style, a Passimento style make with that much precision, because usually a Passimento will be made like over extracted, burnt fruit, and like it's just too much. The alcohol doesn't stand, the alcohol stand out. No, this has a beautiful freshness in the mid palate. So the acid absolutely pop in the middle. And that's what tells me that this wine, even right now in barrel, shows an incredible potential. So yeah, so now we have the chance, just for Carl's Wine Club members, the VIP Plus, the VIP and the VIP Unlimited, to have this en primeur. In future, for $100 a bottle, we have 1 barrel available for the club. This is really cool. It's never been done before. It's never been done before for the first time. And just to have like this guy as a partner in that project to sell one of the most incredible wine en primeur. Text me, send me a DM, send me an email. Every one of you out there who are listening, send me a quick note. Tomorrow morning, this will be available. So, and we're going to keep you in the loop. We're going to keep you updated on how your wine is going in barrel at the Niagara Custom Crush Studio. You'll probably be on a small list of getting exclusive pictures, exclusive updates on how's your wine doing there. But you're just about to embark in a very unique journey with your wine that you pre-purchased from my top one, my number one wine of the year, the 2016 Rainy Estate, the Colleen from the Adelaide block on the Aaron Pond Benchland Vineyard, 100% Appassimento Cabernet Franc. So this is the 2020 that for the first time we're going to pre-sell 1 barrel. How cool is that?
You know what? Graham is on here. I think it's the fact that he's in the middle of a vineyard is a little problematic with the internet, but you can hear us now. Hey, Graham?
Yeah, I can. Hey, everybody. Sorry to be such a pain this evening. It's, one of the great things about living here in this part of the world is you wake up every morning to a great vineyard scene. But one of the downsides is you have vineyard internet.
There you go.
Internet. And tonight, for whatever reason, I just can't get the streams not coming through. I'm only hearing every second and third word. So anyway, I'm here, Carl and Mira, and happy to address any questions, answer any questions, or
well,
whatever you'd like.
We know a bit of your story. Some of the people listening might not. So tell us a little bit more about what goes into the Colleen, the thinking behind it. Also, Mike from Ontario there is just wondering what your take on the 2020 vintage is.
Okay, so let me answer that question first, and then I'll talk a little bit about the Colleen and just what I do here. So 2020, there were a number of vintages from 2007 that were considered to be pretty exceptional here in Ontario. So 7, 10, 12, 16, and 20. And each one of those was characterized by really ideal warm summer growing conditions, lots of heat units, which was great for when you're living here in cool climate Ontario for Bordeaux varietals. 2020 was of the entire 20, 30 years that we've been tracking data was absolutely probably the number one vintage of all time, simply because it was so balanced. Other summers were quite warm, but incredibly hot and put a lot of stress on vines. throughout the July-August period, and lots of stress, water stress as well. 2020 had the advantage of really starting. Bud break was really early in April, and we had this most incredibly balanced, warm summer with rain just at the right time, and the growing season extended right through to November. So it was a spectacular vintage across the board. I think I heard earlier your Thomas was talking about 2020, his 2020 Chard. Every varietal, Pinot Chard, the Burgundian wines, and the Bordeaux varietals all excelled in 2020 remarkably. So there was a great vintage, and you just don't get a vintage like that, obviously, very often, maybe once, in a 30-year period. So I made more wine in 2020 and 16 than I had ever made. My story is I own a 50-acre vineyard. I sell most of my fruit. Been in the investment business for 35 years and traveling all over the world. I'm running my business, but have this gorgeous vineyard, and I sell most of my fruit. But starting in 2010, when I moved down here full time, I decided to make 500 cases on average of really ultra premium wine, and particularly focusing on Passimento with my Bordeaux varietals. But I do make wild fermented Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and my taste, my own preference is towards big full-bodied Cabernet Sauvignon from California, Amarone, Barolos, that kind of palette. So when I wanted to create something special for my vineyard, I thought I had to go Passimento in the Passimento direction, and I partnered up with Vineland Research and Innovation think tank down here in wine country, and created a proprietary drying chamber. So I've been making a Passimento wine for a decade. One of the first people to do it down here. I source very special lots within my 50-acre vineyard. I know exactly where I pick my Cab Sauv from. In fact, this Cab Franc is the Adelaide's block, named after my mother. It's a little 1.5-acre block within a 5-acre Cab Sauv or Cab Franc vineyard on the north end of our property. And so I've been making a Passimento, like I say, for a decade. Generally, so I vinify the Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, Merlot separately, and then I blend it together to make this our flagship wine called Gia Assemblage. But in special years, I try to pull out 2 barrels of either I has been Cab Sauv for a couple of years, and only once was able to do this with Cab Franc. That was 2016. Find 2 barrels that are so exceptional. I don't put them into the blend. I actually bottle them unfiltered as a pure varietal, single varietal. So I've called the Cab Franc the Colleen. I made it in 2016. Only made 50 cases. Sold it out pretty quickly. I have a few cases left here at the house for friends. And as Carl mentioned earlier, I have not. I tried. I thought I could actually release it from the 18 vintage, but upon tasting it, it was very, very good wine, but just not quite up to the level that I wanted it. So I declassified it, and we created a second label called Heron Pond Benchline Vineyard Series, which named that wine Onyx. That sold out just a couple weeks ago. So this, the only Cab Franc I have in barrel is 2020. I have 4 barrels. I've picked 2 that are going to be their exceptional barrels. Carl's got I think you were tasting tonight, Carl, the blend, the cuvee, and it's going to be an amazing wine, but only 50 cases. I'll probably keep at least 10 for myself, so maybe 40 to be sold. And trying to, Carl and Mira, such great supporters of the industry, and certainly down here in Ontario. So I thought, why don't we try to see if we could do an entrepreneur kind of arrangement, put aside a barrel, and maybe sell some futures to Carl's Wine Club members and offer them a discount. So that's kind of, what we landed on. And I'd be happy to answer. That's a lot of talking. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Oh, that's great.
Well, Graham, this is so great. First, to talk about the 16, who was to me my introduction to what you do. And the Colleen was just so special for me to taste. And now I'm sitting here, and we had like over 500 people tuning in and out tonight and following what we do, like 8,000 members. And I'm sitting here tonight recapping 1,200 wines that I've tasted over the year. And I have a splash of the 2020 of what's sitting in barrel. And I'm just comparing what I've tasted this summer compared to what I have here. And I'm just putting everything in perspective here. And the Colleen, the 16 had that little bit of a feminine aspect with a little bit of residual sugar left after fermentation from the 2016 vintage. And when I tasted when I'm tasting the 2020, it feels to me a little drier. It feels a little bit more that masculinity, that bone dry appassimento style. Am I crazy when I taste that aspect?
No, 100% correct. Actually, there's about 2 grams per liter less residual sugar in the 2020. We just were able to every vintage you get what you get from the vineyard, and then the process drying of the grapes, the drying time, and then the whole vinification process is always different year to year. There's no cookie cutter. You just get what you get, and you manage the best you can. So we were able to we had a little residual sugar left in that 2016, which a lot of people like that. A lot of people don't, but
well, I sure did. I sure did.
Slightly drier, I would say, and that gives it that more muscular, as you say, more. I don't want to say manly with Mira in the room, but yeah, it's a little more testosterone in that 2020 than there was in the 2016, but still a gorgeous wine. An amazing expression of Cabernet Franc. What's really funny about this whole conversation is, and Carl, when you came to see me with Mira and your children, and we were tasting down in my tasting room, I had lined up the wines with, hearing that you were, this really well-known and competent wine judge, taster, critic. I thought, okay, you're going to love my Super G, which is my favorite wine of all the wines. Again, only 50 barrels or 50 cases made on special years, cap sold 100%. And I thought that was where we were going to end up. But no, you kind of gravitated to the Colleen, and it's not my favorite grape, but I must say, I have fell in love with that wine because it is such an amazing expression of Cab Franc, and it's really all from this vineyard. It's an amazing site. So, pretty special wines, and I'm hoping that like we haven't ever done this before, sold Entrepreneur, but I'm happy to do it tonight and see how it works. It sounds like it might be a good fit for my very limited volume in the future.
But for us, and we say, wow, this is really cool because we're developing an amazing relationship with the Rennie wines. But we know one way or another, these wines are not going to be available past the summer because these wines are going to be sold out no matter what, like they are every single vintage. So this is extremely generous of you, Graham, to offer our members the privilege to make sure that they get their pack before it's sold out, because when it goes out, and especially for the people in Western Canada or in fact Eastern Canada that they don't hear about the Rennie wines, the Rennie estate. They haven't heard about the story, how prolific, how amazing these wines are. And now they have the potential, the privilege to get their hands on like a 6-pack or a 12-pack of these wines before it goes out. So thank you, Graham. I appreciate that.
Very appreciated. We just got an email from Janice. She's trying to make sure that she gets first in line for some of these bottles. She says her husband turns 60 next year, and so they'd like to have this to help celebrate that. So
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. A special wine for a special occasion.
Totally. A great wine.
Yeah.
And to store, if you can store a couple bottles for later, have another one on the 70th. And maybe another one on the...
Mira, that's one thing. And I think that our wine lovers here, people who enjoy these type of wine, I think, already understand that these wines are not for immediate consumption. Yes, it's an experience on its own at any step, at any stage of their growth, of any stage of their curve. But these wines are built to last for decades. The 2016 Collins at that point is still a baby. We're talking about in a six-year-old wine who's just starting to flourish a little bit. This wine's going to be good for another 15 years. That 2020, with the bright acidity that we find in the mid palate, with the tannic structure, with the power of that wine will last for 20 years, no questions asked. So yeah, these are a long-term game. These are some stuff to put aside for a long term, but they're also, if you like your wine feisty, if you like your wine like, these are a unique tasting experience at any point of their growth. So Graham, I know it's getting late in your part of the country. You're a busy man. Again, congratulations and thank you for sharing the 2016 Collins with us a little bit more than six months ago on our first visit. Congratulations to get #1 wine of the year this year, and thank you for this great partnership. We are thrilled and excited to offer our members en primeur on future the 2020 the Collins in barrel right now.
That's awesome. Well, thanks very much, Carl and Mira. Really appreciate the accolades and the award. That's just an amazing achievement, and I feel I can't say I'm going to pop open a bottle of Collins tonight. It's a little late, but sometime this week we'll drink a bottle in your honor. And congratulations, folks, on a wonderful year, and best of luck for 2023. Look forward to keeping in touch, and I hope all your clients and friends continue to support Canadian wines.
Thank you, Graham. Congratulations again. Say hi to Christine for us, and all the best.
And to Colleen.
and to Colleen, exactly, by fact.
Great. Have a great night. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a cool project. This is awesome. This is really exciting.
Really
so for
cool.
first time having some en primeur, so some wine that you guys can get your hand, because there's not going to be any available, so you can get your hands on it right now. So send us a note, just like Janice. Send us a quick email, and we'll make sure that you're top of the list.
Well,
and
and watch for your emails tomorrow. So VIP Plus, VIP Unlimited, and VIPs will get that email tomorrow. All other members, that will come to you on Tuesday early morning. And yeah, be sure to reserve your spots for that en primeur. When is that going to be shipping out again, Carl? They're bottling it in the spring, right?
probably late spring, and the time is set a little bit in bottles before shipping. And so to me, it can be anytime between late springs to early summer, something like that, because we're already 2023. So the process is getting, it's almost done. So we're just hitting the stretch run right now. So it's close to be at the end, and that's why what we're tasting here, it's really close to be final, to be the final product.
It tastes amazing. So
it's incredible. It's incredible.
We'll have to keep people in the loop who have ordered that barrel. Maybe do a little barrel sampling right before it's bottled, or maybe get a little shot of them bottling it or something like that. It'd be fun.
Oh, definitely. And I think I'm going to talk with Marco and Sarah at the winery to get like maybe a monthly update on how everything's doing, a couple pictures and everything. So I'm thinking that for the one who are ordering it, you're going to be in the loop. You're going to be in probably entering in the Niagara Custom Crush family, in a sense that you're going to be in the news, I would say, and we're going to keep you posted, definitely.
Perfect. Well, it was such a pleasure to see you guys tonight. Thank you so much for helping us discover all these wines, because we're doing this all together, and it's way more fun that way. And I hope you guys all have an amazing, amazing evening. We're going to be back on Wednesday doing partly pre-recorded show because Carl Boucher will be on his way to the Caribbean. Tough gig he's got down there to do some work consulting wise. So you'll fill us in on that a little more. But yeah, in the meantime.
So before we shut we shut the evening off, we turn it down. I would like to congratulate all of our nominees, everyone who made that list, and especially I want to say congratulations to Graham, to Richard De Silva, to Thomas Batchelder, Fred DiProfio, who else? JP Cola, like all of these winemaker, these outstanding guys who make, Jeff Undermark. So guys, congratulations. Your wines are world class. Your wines are absolutely fantastic. This is Ross Wise here, JP Cola, what's his name at Maverick? Anyway, Daniel Bonterin here at Seven Direction. So this is the cream of the crop of what Canadian wines has to offer. There's something to be proud of. And I'm not just like, it's not only me, all of these wines, I'm not the only one to have put these wines on a pedestal. Like if you look at all of these wines, even if I was one of the first to rate them extremely high, people following me, like people after me, rate it as high as I did, or even more in some cases. So all of these wines are absolutely world class. They're all worth a spot in everyone's cellar, depending on your style. But yeah, all of these guys, of these winemakers, congratulations, you guys nailed it in what you're doing. It's great to have the privilege to work with your product. So
woohoo! All
right. So Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, thank you. Check your email in the morning. All of these wines are coming. Cheers.